guess this is kind of a fireside. We get relaxed here a bit. So, what is principle of fugio? Principle is anytime a person's name or political party is brought into discussion, all problems must be solved at once or discussed at once. And until this circular logic is understood, we'll always be making one battle at a time. Example being Pepsi Cola, Coca Cola will still be producing 2 billion bottles a day. They take 400 years to disintegrate. It's a black light on there. I wonder what that would look like. Whee, black light. A little tin water. It's actually pretty bright. But that's your typical. Same as many of our, we're fortunate to have a fireplace. So it's lifting all boats at once is what has to happen. Anything left out makes the whole project unworthy. The approximate size, $10 to $12 trillion. Investment, $385 personal. Okay, the reason there's a coin involved isn't because of the coin. The coin is to figure out a new way to decentralize the currency without relying upon scarcity. For example, you can stamp out 1,000 fugios. They're worth $7.35 a piece at current price of silver. You bring in one from someone like a tattoo artist or an artist has engraved and spent the time and made it look nice. That's worth more because you can tell it's an obviously handmade one. There'll be 39 of these made to signify the Carter administration. Now, there actually will be 39 times 2. That's going to be a matched $383 donation in silver. The people in line with this program potentially are at the very, very highest levels. Mr. Mark Mehall, Mehll. He is the engineer, the head engineer for Ford's electric team. Since 2014, he's been working on the Ford F-150. And if we can pull this to this community, the Ford Chargers, we're getting totally skipped over. Everything's going towards highway programs because we need more highways to pull the hamburger to the hogwash pizza paradise. The description that was given to me, and I gave to the governor also, was the spill zone they're digging out for the ammonia and whatnot is equivalent to a municipal project the size of the municipal dump. And that's already an unsafe environment there. Typically, you work and your eyes are burning from ammonia. Cheese machine catches on fire, you don't stop, the alarm goes off, you keep working until it goes out by itself. That's typical protocol. So we're going to expand that, is the plan, to the world's largest producer of that. It's right next to Blue Heaven Studios and a lot of unreplaceable things like Bethany College, the things we have here. Hey, Bethany College 420 chiming in right there. Isn't that funny? Right exactly on the second. It's usually where the meat of the matter is, right? There's plans to help maintain all of this all the way down the road. If you go to the governor's webpage and read, it starts December 2nd, but she actually redacted what I had written and tried to scoot it back a few days. So it's like September 28th. And just read it like a book and add. I think you can do a lot to change your state before April 20th. And April 20th, again, that's the day of calling. For example, in Hutchinson, we're going to have 5 districts. Each district will be represented by someone who lives there a minimum of 5 years, and they will be paid a wage of $3,000 to $5,000 as they're currently not paid. Possibly if they can negotiate higher, but they'll be a wage there, $3,000 to $5,000, because they most likely will have to purchase a drone to monitor traffic from above to see how to get traffic to their community businesses, to see like where the neglect is. It's going to be, and a lot of time it's studied. It's going to be a complex thing, but it'll build the town equal, and so we don't look like St. Joe, Missouri, because that's the path we're on. Its line is being twisted or not. Also, it's intentional. Read Householder's article on his reply to the art project in the Salina Journal. There's Aaron Householder, Salina Journal art project. He says it about the way it is. That $180,000 was actually a gateway to a $35 million project. That is not what the Arts Commission serves. Arts Commission could, in Hutchinson, for example, spend $2,700 and invest every single business that accepts one in RCF. That's the top line speaker. They make $10,000 speakers, like the bar ones. They also make a little 12-inch one with a horn or 15 that runs for $680 a piece, mounted properly, and a digital power amp and digital that could totally outfit the whole thing because the amps are inside the speakers, and two 15-inch subwoofers for about $2,700 times 5 or 6 in Hutchinson versus the same amount of money put into a piece of metal sticking out of the ground people just forget about. That's how you build your arts. It's not the piece of art that brings the art there. It's the environment that brings the art to the environment. There's no reason Hutchinson couldn't be as cool as town as Lawrence. None. Especially with that PA setup. Then bands on tour would stop by here and just hop out, play a quick set, get some gas money, and they travel along their way. And they may go all the way through Hutch, doing like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, making money. Might as well keep going. Get some gas money, hit the next road. Manhattan. And that would make us a major drop-off for entertainment. It also equalized the tax base so buildings which are still structurally salvageable can be. And if something does happen, we have, for example, if the Holiday building was ever to crack or collapse, we wouldn't have to go to Kansas City and ask Bob to charge more for his ukulele performances. These are the families that built this community. Now they're old, and then they're basically, money does what it does. It disappears. And what's happening now is disappearing into a rate which we call institutionalized poverty. The medical marijuana plan in Kansas will run $20,000 to $30,000 a month per prescription for each person. The reason that is, your first bill is $20,000 or $25,000 for your enrollment. If you're accepted, you then have a $200,000 growing fee. Now there's a fee for $125,000 for every 10 or either 10 by 10, 100 square feet or 100 square meters, I forget which it is. I think it's feet. That's $125,000 for each one of those. And in order to distribute, you have to have a $25,000 license. Nothing medically involved. Now, what's the copay on that going to be? Well, he's a veteran. He can't afford more than this, so we'll make it $30 a month. That $30,000 a month, $20,000 a month extra comes directly out of the funds for our children and elderly and people in need. Most likely, these programs will be bought up by failed businesses out of Colorado. No corporate weed in Kansas. We want no corporate weed in Kansas. We want 6 ounces growth, 10% food stamp. That's the tax, 10% like a food tax. Tax stamp, 10% food tax. That's a lot of money. And redundancy of fire extinguishers. Approximately 40 pounds, something you can carry on the back of a bike. And have the young people start looking and investing into a KTM. Those KTM Easy Riders, I would be surprised if you could burn one out in 250,000 miles. It's one moving part, and it's winning races like crazy. These are 32-mile races, and he changes the battery at the finish line real slow just to make a point. by himself until somebody walks over and helps him stable the handlebar a little bit, to show that they aren't total assholes. There won't be a piston left in motorcycle racing in 2 years. That's pretty much a guarantee. Once KTM locks on to Tesla's their enameling system for their stators, they wind at 20,000 RPM. That's what they run at, so they don't fly apart. And some of the battery technology and some of the magnet technology, Tesla would gladly open source some of that to them because that's the most efficient way you could travel. And you would have basically a KTM Plaid. And that's the best bike because high performance also equals high mileage. They'll outrun a 460 Husqvarna with a two-stroke. Ones with the two exhaust pipes on the sides. Easy. At least the cheaper version does. The Segway, the Chiron X modified. Chiron X modified is 25 horsepower on a wheel, at the wheel, on a thing. 25 horsepower all the way up to 81 miles an hour. It's a linear just line. 25 horsepower the whole way. And that's like a 250-pound bike. That's totally 70-mile range. It burn off a little quicker. You realistically get 35, but how far are you going to ride on something that hurts your butt? And this way we have some responsible youth who do care about the crime problem in this town. They can get from point A to point B very, very fast. Kind of multiply the Spider-Man effect. Because everyone in their heart doesn't want to see just disruption of services and stuff. And then there's plans carrying forward towards getting Kansas to focus on underground, at least a couple 1 mile underground sections of power line from one substation to another. This is the proof concept starting this year with this money we got, because countries all over the world do it. It's DC current, it's not AC, and it's like 5 times, 10 times the voltage. It's real high voltage. But all it is winding, right? And then you reconvert back on the other side and have maybe an elevator in the middle for a service tower, service connect. That way, when a line blows down, you know exactly where it is, and you go there and reconnect it, and it's back up. And everyone, you have redundancy. These are easily doable things. April 20th is going to be the kickoff for the one person per district, 5 years, 5 districts in Hutchinson, 6 ounces, 2 fire extinguishers. That fulfills the Millennial Bridge 266. If you watch that, that's the Millennial Bridge. It took 266 people to actually resonate that bridge at 80%. As far as when they went back and did an experiment marching people. That's the millennials. They're going to help out on this one. It's important to keep things consistent. Plus, you want to redundancy. You know what? If they cost $500 a piece, that's a lot better than $25,000 with a license fee. Does nothing. And if you're first there and there's fire, you have one on the back of your bike and you got your fire suit on because you got a race suit because you're worried about your skin, and you can get there in 27 seconds and really put down some retardant. When taking over retards, they're taken care of in large. It's not a good one. There's a Latin term for that actually makes more sense. But that's the reason for those poems is when taking care of halts, when taking over halts, taking care of exalts. Anytime you form your personal group and someone has an idea that they think is right, they whip one of those out you haven't heard as a group. You plan them and keep it in your back of your head. And they've never heard it, then you get floor for a while. to re-explain, because most likely, never argue, ask what is its purpose. Most likely you're not truly understanding the person's purpose of what they're trying to get to you. Or you're misunderstanding your principles, or there's some lack of win-win going on. So always ask what is its purpose. And watch, it's the one that says Fugio, it's Ben Franklin, and it has the lightning bolt, him with lightning bolt movie, couple songs, some principles of thinking, like the principle of protocol of effective thinking is contemplate, not have a muffler like that. It's contemplate, action, emote. I always use the word emote. That kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of neuters the pain from the emotion. Like, yeah, I got anger. I got emotions, and I'm gonna come back and have emotions. Emote, and just drop it. It's like each one of those is a 5-pound cinder brick in your backpack. You just set them down because it's a long walk we haven't started yet. The cooking, if you go to the governor's page and go through, all the information is there. I consider almost an act of treason or laziness if you do not participate in this, because it does matter. We got to pretend like our kids and grandkids matter. It's kind of a stretch for some of us. That means actually doing something and doing some homework. Spend 30 minutes researching the angles that maybe I miss. And it starts back at December 2nd was the original deadline for the 10-year research for clean water. Out of 70,000 people, only 2 people noticed. The other person hit like. I dropped the black hole in there. No one else has added since then. That's out of 70,000 people. So go to the governor's webpage, scroll down to December 2nd, a little further, because they pulled it back 2 days earlier. I've got a screenshot for that, just like everything else that gets taken away. And allow these thoughts to roll. Step number 1 is we're going to help somebody with SSDI contact unemployment and help them file their W-800s wherever they are. And say, well, sometimes, explain to them, sometimes we all see things differently. We think our way will work better. Write it down on paper. Here's my social security number. Here's my information. I need help with WW. They should be able to push a button and all those should flow, because everyone fits the category of stimulus for COVID, and they fit more so. But they're not allowed to have a nest egg because they're only allowed to have $2,000. So we have to approach that at the same time. Senator, not Brownback, but Senator moron, he has the compromise where you can have now over $2,000, but it goes to his people to manage it, because the biggest problem is allowing people to manage their own money. SSDI would do a lot better to people if they had an $11,000 nest egg. If there was a true problem, they could only access so much per month of it, right? To last some period of time. But you don't just hold it and say it's for future use. That would give them a nest egg where they could afford to get an electric bike that would last them the rest of their life. A Segway is $4,700, and the new ones, the bikes, they go 54 miles an hour. You probably want to slow it down a little bit. I mean, that's for the lightweight person. Everything's slow weight, but they ground mileage, and they got 70 mile range. Going 20 and 30, you probably get 40-mile range with a lighter person. That's a whole different handicapped person than, or to buy that, someone who's blind, to buy that double Amazon speaker system, which I think would be the best, Amazon Studio, for a business offering. Either 2 of those or the RFC would be mine for the Arts Commission to push on businesses that opt in to accept it. And you'd have less money spent than on a few of those statues. And a whole lot more art. A whole lot more. Multiplied by 10 or 100. And this will allow each one of these breweries to focus on light shows and stuff. Unique things that we won't get into. Using LCD projectors, like high-powered ones, and fractal programs that you follow your finger around for the spotlight. Because what's the good of saying, here's me tired in yellow, here's me tired in green, here's me tired. You want to take away from that. You want an atmosphere. And hopefully our brewing companies will start serving mixed berries, bananas, and milk and equal brown sugar and a special recipe in a big cup. The parents can take care of their home for their kids. That's the highest form of concentrated nutrient you can get possible out if there's an outbreak real bad. A 65% reduction in upper bronchial infection. That's balanced 24 amino acids. That's chromium. That's protein. That's all those berries. A little half cup of berries, 3/4 cup of berries, and some banana. Blend it up with, if it's a big one like that, a whole cup, yeah. But that's a very cheap investment. That's a cheap way. It's a lot better than making hand cleaner. And I would pay for a big one of those, $6, $7, whatever, for a big jug that you take home and split between two people, like kids. And one brew for the adults and one fruit for the adults. That turned we'll say their brew was $8 into a $24 investment each time a car pulls through, and a reason to pull through more often. It helps them prepare their business, because that's important to be prepared for the state fair, because we got to compete with the skiing pizza, right? There's ways to do that and make it work, and raise quick cash, and keep things legitimate. But we do not want corporate marijuana in Kansas. Maybe a medical growing facility, but there should not be those fees. There should be people who have degrees and who, you know what I mean? $2,000 fee to open, $10,000 fee, and then you're signed. Because there's already drained resource. Why drain a resource more? And for a while, these new businesses to open up, like head shops selling records, like vintage vinyl from Salina. Like all these bands could put their money towards getting vintage vinyl from Salina. Audiophile grade vinyl. Or masters and whatnot. It's just not known enough. And so they specialize in blues. But yeah, they're not running it so hot they couldn't run a sideline of 200 albums. You know what I mean? That'd be something cool to have as a band. But with that, I'm going to wish you happy with Fugio. Glad to have this fire time with you. 22 minutes and 54 seconds. Sounds about right. Quick look around with here's the notes. See, we got some notes here. I'll give you a quick glance of something if I can find it. It's fast. Here's your head start. Those pay attention. When taking over retards and taking care of leotards. Isn't that cool? That's straight up, man.